I've always known servers have it tough, man. You got it tough. I don't think I realized just how tough. But I have been educated big time over the course of like the last week. I think I shared with you guys a actual receipt that I got from a Bert Show listener that is a server. And in the tip line, there was nothing, and they were being funny, and they just said something like, look both ways before you cross the street, and they didn't leave any tip at all, right? So insulting. So we got into a conversation. I asked you guys that have been in the service industry before. I was in Taco Bell, but not a lot of tipping going on there. Should you even go to a restaurant if you can't afford the tip? So you can afford the meal, but you can't afford the tip. And unanimously, you guys said, don't go, do something else.
Because that is part of the meal.
That's part of the meal. That's what people don't consider it part of the meal. They're like, here's where I can save money. If you're eating out, you can't afford to tip. You're just being a cheap, terrible person.
Right.
Period.
And we talked quite a bit about it. I put a poll up on Instagram. 85% of people said, do not go anywhere near that restaurant if you can't tip.
I want to know who the 15%
Should have been 100.
I was so surprised and like sad about some of the comments because some woman was like, I tip $5 no matter what. And I was like, okay, if it's $20 to $25, then that's acceptable. But anything over, and she's like, if I spend $75, I don't want to spend more than $80 on my credit card, so I just leave $5 cash. And I'm like, that is not, those people still exist where they're like, anybody's grateful for $5. It's not.
And this pandemic, too, has just heightened it as far as like
Been
people
really
being just downright mean and rude. Not even just tipping poorly, but just being downright rude and mean to their servers.
You know, there are a lot of industries that we can focus on and have focused on during this pandemic. You know, we've covered teachers as much as we could. Healthcare workers as much as we could. And me personally, you know, I am just looking at the service industry now based on so many DMs that I got over the course of the last week that have truly been heartbreaking. Like, it made me realize that you don't know the personal life of the person that is serving you and how much those little itty bitty tips mean for their livelihood. It could be the difference between getting some diapers for their kids or not. And if you're the smart ass that puts in the tip line, look both ways before you cross the street, you don't really know the effect that has on not only the server, but everybody else in line at that restaurant, correct?
Yes. I still remember getting in the tip line, it said, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. $0. I'll never forget that.
It happens more often than you think, because I know when I was serving, like that was like once or twice a day for me that I would get either a really, really bad tip or something that was like smart like that.
At least once a shift, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So what I've done for myself, I've had a decent year, and I would love for some of you guys that have had a year where you can afford doing this once or twice. I would like to re-energize the Tip the Bill challenge that was going around in the beginning of the pandemic, or even right before the pandemic, where you take a look at your bill. You don't got to do the math on it. This is the easy part.
Yeah.
You don't have to go 10%, 20%. If this has been a decent year for you and you can afford it, I want to suggest that you guys at least once tip the entire bill. It can be a complete game changer. Now, I'm planning on doing this for myself through the end of the year. So any meal that me and my family have out from now until January 1st, we are tipping the entire amount of the meal. We started this week.
That's awesome.
And it's because I get like a DM like this is the one that I highlighted for you guys this morning. Just said, hey, Bert, I just wanted to reach out as I'm a huge fan of your show, my experience as a bar manager, and a recent experience with a horrible group of people. And about a month ago, a large party of 8 came in for a birthday party for the grandmother. I went above and beyond for them as they seemed like the happiest people alive, made me feel good about myself, and complimented me on how amazing the service was, the food, the drinks, how I was running the place all by myself since I have no staff besides myself and the cook. Well, the bill racked up to about $160. And I assumed based on that, I was going to get at least 20%. I was never rude, never missed anything. When they left an $8 tip.
And for those that can't do the math real quick, she should have gotten $32 minimum.
Yep.
$8 tip. And if this was the only one, I wouldn't have been alarmed. If it was only 10 that I received like this over the course of the last week, I might not have been alarmed. But you guys, it's been like 20, 30, 40 DMs with different examples like this.
And
I'm not surprised.
I wish we
either.
could say that things are going to change and restaurants are going to up the paycheck for their employees and tipping will go away like other countries, but that's not going to happen.
No.
It's never going to happen. They're never going to pay their employees what they deserve, so it is on us
Right.
to take care of them, and their entire livelihood depends on our gratitude. And I feel like some people just go out to eat like already mad at the server and like wanting to prove a point.
The fact that I walked into a restaurant some time ago and there was a sign at the door that said, "Please be kind to our staff.
Shit,
We
man.
we are understaffed. We just ask for your patience and understanding." The fact that a sign even had to be posted, I'm like, what is wrong with
I
you?
saw one in Helen that was like, "We're just begging for a sliver of decency during this time," and I was like, "That's so like that sentence is gonna stick with me."
Another thing that I see that bothers me is like people they'll realize that when they're ordering something, you'll get like a service fee or you'll get a delivery fee. And then people will say, well, since you're charging me all these fees, well, then I'm going to take that away from the tip. That has nothing to do with the person that's actually delivering your stuff.
I got one DM from somebody on the other side of this that said, like every month, she and her husband go to a Waffle House and they leave $100 tip, and then they go into the parking lot and they sit in their car and they wait and they watch the server open it up and see that they got the $100 like tip, and the joy they get out of that every month is amazing.
It's a great feeling.
You have to have a manager check you out when somebody tips more than the amount of the bill. Then the manager has to like clear off, because sometimes the micros will just be like, "Nope, you're doing something wrong. You're clearly trying to double charge them." So the manager has to come out and be like, "What'd you do?
What? Right.
What did you do to them?" That's awesome.
So if you do that, you do it out of the goodness of your heart and it feels really good. But if you want some social media credit on it, if you want to send me a picture of that and just hashtag it, tip the bill, then I'd be glad to share it on my account at The Bert Show or Bert Show Bert.
The Bert Show.